It was a year to the day yesterday that the tailings dam in Jagersfontein collapsed, leading to a wave of muck and mud and mining debris to run through the town of Jagersfontein. It claimed several lives, literally wiped away the town. A huge outcry over all of this because of the damage that mining does to so many communities around the country. The Benchmarks Foundation now releasing a report into the collapse of the dam and looked at the impact of this on the community. David van Wyk is from the Benchmarks Foundation. David, good afternoon to you. You've been to the community many times. You've conducted your research. You've put together this report. What has happened to the community in the years since this tailings dam disaster?
Well, since the tailings dam disaster, 3 show houses have been built. After the Deputy President's visit in May, some reconstruction work on the 164 houses that were severely damaged have started. The infrastructure, the sewage infrastructure is still very severely damaged, and the local government is basically bankrupt. It cannot afford to replace the sewage infrastructure that was damaged. They owe huge amounts of money to Eskom and to the Water Supply Authority. And people are destitute. People are living in back rooms. They are living with other family members. They are living in guest house facilities paid for by the mining company. But so far, only
we seem to have some interruption on that line there, David. Sorry about that. You were saying that three show houses have been built and people aren't actually receiving a restitution in any way.
The thing is that people are absolutely destitute. There's 70% unemployment in that community. The local government there, the Kopanong municipality, is bankrupt. They cannot afford to restore the infrastructure, the sewage infrastructure, and also the electricity infrastructure that was damaged. These are all things that the mine should pay for. The mine put aside 20 million rands, but that is completely inadequate to restore 164 houses. And, the Minerals Council put another 50 million, which is a total of 70 million, which is completely inadequate for restoration. People lost their cars, they lost the appliances in their houses, they lost the furniture in their houses, they lost their clothes, they lost everything, basically. And some 700 head of livestock was also lost by local farmers and so on. Grazing land was destroyed. The aquatic system, if you go to the rivers there's nothing living in those rivers anymore. I took hundreds of photographs of dead crabs and things like that literally crawled out of the water to try and escape. The community also did some fishing and so on in those rivers, and they tell me that it's impossible to do so now because there's nothing that is alive in the river system. So 70 million rands really isn't adequate. You can buy a fancy house in Cape Town for 70 million rands, but you can't really buy or repair the lives of 164 families who lost their houses.
There's a company called Jaggersfontein Developments. I presume they're the ones who build what you've described as 3 show houses. They say they're working with residents to rebuild the town. Is that not happening?
We went there. We spoke to the contractors and subcontractors. They are fighting with one another. The local subcontractors are fighting with the ones imported from Limpopo because they say a mine official is related to the ones that are coming in from Limpopo. The community and the contractors are also complaining that they're not getting adequate support. And they are also, we took photographs and so on of the foundations and so on of the houses that they are rebuilding. And they are definitely not of the same quality as the houses that were there before the actual destruction took place, so it's not like for like replacement. And no one is talking about, the clothes, the furniture, the appliances and other things, the cars and so on that people lost. Close to 100 cars were washed away. And if you estimate the value of a car between 250 and 500,000 rands to replace, 20 million rands donated by the company is really not adequate. You cannot speak about a donation when you speak about reparations. The polluter pays principle should be applied, and it should be applied stringently, because the tailings did not break accidentally. People warned that the tailings would break. The mayor of the town warned a year before that the tailings was going to break. The NUM employees at the mine warned the day before that they should stop pumping, otherwise the tailings would break. Community members warned that the tailings was about to break, and no one paid any attention. And the reason why the tailings broke was because the people who are doing the mining there do not understand the basic requirements of a safe tailings setup.
So who do we then, where does the accountability end? You say the polluter pays principle. Which company would be held responsible? Would that be Jagersfontein Developments or someone else? Because there's a long sort of trail here.
The Jagersfontein Development Company is owned by Stargem and Super Kolong. It was previously owned by Super Kolong and Reinet of Johan Rupert. Johan Rupert pulled out in May 2022, which for us is highly problematic because we suspect that Reinet knew that the tailings was going to break in any case. And so these companies made an awful lot of money out of that mine. Stargem continues to make money out of that mine. The Department of Mineral Resources claim that it's not a mine. It claims that it's the responsibility of water affairs, which is absolute nonsense. The Department of Mineral Resources had oversight because it publishes regulations for how tailings should be constructed and maintained, which was not done in this case. The Department of Water Affairs publishes regulations with regards to the amount of water you can pump into a tailings of a certain size, and the mine wasn't compliant with that either. So there should be criminal liability. People should be arrested, and people should be taken to court for the destruction that they caused. But because these people in Charlesville and Itumeleng are poverty-stricken and therefore voiceless, I don't think we're going to see the inside of a court ever.
There's so much here, and there's so many other communities that might also be in danger in situations like this, David. How then do we ensure accountability? I mean, is anyone going to do anything? Do we need to find some sort of a class action lawsuit from a lawyer who could be incentivized, through taking a third of the winnings or something like that on some sort of contingency basis?
Is involved already with members of the community, but the community is very fearful and there's a lot of intimidation taking place. The mine employs 300 people out of several thousand people living in that community, and even employees who've spoken to us and so on have said that they are afraid to speak to the media and speak to us because they're afraid of the consequences. People who lost their houses are saying that they're afraid of speaking because they say that if the mining company notices that they speak to researchers and to the media, that they are threatened with that they won't receive houses. Others we are told that they have been told to sign forms that they will get a house on condition that they don't hold the company liable.
David van Wyk, thank you very much indeed. Such a difficult story from Jagersfontein. So little work, it seems, has been done to sort all of that out. David van Wyk is from the Benchmarks Foundation and made the point, of course, that Jagersfontein is not the only community in danger of this.